What if I told you that one of the greatest scientific minds of the 20th century discovered a language learning secret so powerful that it could help you memorize 1,000 new words daily in any language? Sounds impossible, right? That's exactly what I thought too, until I discovered Richard Feynman's revolutionary approach to vocabulary acquisition. Have you ever spent countless hours with language apps, expensive textbooks, or even private tutors, only to find yourself stumbling and hesitating? When trying to have a basic conversation, you're definitely not alone. The traditional language learning industry has been keeping a crucial secret from you. They're teaching you backward. What you're about to discover might completely transform how you approach language learning forever. The Nobel Prize-winning physicist Richard Feynman, renowned for his ability to break down complex topics with remarkable clarity, applied this same genius to language learning. His approach is counterintuitive, yet profoundly effective. Has this ever happened to you? You diligently study grammar rules, pronunciation drills, and random vocabulary lists for months, yet when it comes time to actually speak, your mind goes blank. This happens because most language courses start with the wrong foundation. They begin with complicated grammar structures and random phrases instead of strategic vocabulary acquisition. But before we begin, please hit the like button and let me know where in the world you're watching from today. It's always fascinating seeing who's joining us from around the world. And if you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any of our future videos. Feynman discovered something revolutionary about language acquisition. Without vocabulary, you're essentially building a house without a foundation. While traditional methods focus on grammar first, Feynman insisted that strategic vocabulary acquisition must come before anything else. It's the fundamental building block that enables everything else to fall into place naturally. Stay with me until the end, because Feynman's method isn't just about memorizing random words. He developed a methodical system for organizing vocabulary that mirrors how our brains naturally process language. Think about how children learn their first language. They don't start with conjugation tables. They begin with concrete nouns related to their immediate environment, then gradually add action words, and finally descriptive language. Feynman's genius approach follows this natural progression. You start by learning nouns connected to your personal interests and daily life, then incorporate the 50 to 200 most common verbs in your target language, and finally add the 100 most useful adjectives. This creates a functional vocabulary base that grows organically, just like a child learning their native tongue. What truly sets Feynman's method apart isn't just what you learn, but how you learn it. The traditional education system has conditioned us to believe that vocabulary memorization is tedious and inefficient. But what if I told you that the human brain is actually designed to remember massive amounts of information when presented in the right way? If you found value in Feynman's language learning approach and want to discover more powerful techniques like this one, hit the subscribe button now. I share practical methods that transform how you learn languages, techniques most traditional courses never teach. Join our community of language learners who are breaking through barriers and experiencing real results. Subscribe, and let's continue this language learning journey together. Now, let me reveal what might be Feynman's most profound insight into the mechanics of memory. Something that completely transforms how vocabulary acquisition works. The hidden truth is that your brain doesn't simply remember information, it remembers experiences with emotional significance. This revelation is the key that unlocks accelerated language learning for even those who previously believed they had bad memories for foreign words. When you encounter a new word in your target language, don't just translate it and move on. That's the fundamental mistake that keeps most language learners trapped in perpetual mediocrity. Instead, create a rich, multi-sensory connection to that word that triggers an emotional response in your mind. The transformation this creates is remarkable. Take the verb to run in any language. Rather than memorizing its definition, close your eyes and actually visualize yourself running through a familiar place. Feel your feet hitting the pavement. Hear your quickened breath. Experience the sensation of movement through your body. This mental imagery creates neural pathways across multiple regions of your brain, forming a complex network that makes the word virtually impossible to forget. This approach represents a profound mindset shift that goes beyond mere memorization. Words cease being abstract symbols on a page and become lived experiences that resonate with your personal journey. I've witnessed remarkable breakthroughs with students using this technique. Even those who struggled for years with traditional methods suddenly experienced rapid progress. But Feynman understood that passive knowledge alone isn't enough for real-world impact. The journey from language learner to language user requires crossing an invisible threshold that few teachers ever discuss. That's why the second component of his methodology focuses on daily deliberate practice with personally meaningful sentences. The most effective language learners commit to creating just 15 new sentences every day, using their newly acquired vocabulary. The key revelation here is that these aren't random examples from a textbook. They're sentences relevant to your life, your work, your interests, your actual reality. This is where your language journey becomes deeply personal and therefore unforgettable. Write about your actual day, your genuine thoughts, your authentic experiences. This practical application bridges the gap between knowing words and actually using them naturally in conversation. It's the difference between studying a language and truly embodying it. The decisions you make in this phase of your learning will determine whether you remain an eternal beginner or experience a genuine transformation in your abilities. What's particularly fascinating about this approach is how it respects the brain's natural learning mechanisms. Traditional education often treats the mind like a computer. Input information, output results. But Feynman recognized that humans learn through connection, emotion, and personal relevance. This insight doesn't just apply to language learning. It's a fundamental truth about how we acquire and retain any complex skill. Now, I want to go even deeper into how Feynman's methodology addresses the most common reason people forget vocabulary, even after multiple exposures. It's a psychological principle that explains why you can study a word 20 times and still draw a blank when you need it most. If this approach to language learning is resonating with you, write in the comments, "Feynman unlocked my potential." This brings us to what might be Feynman's most brilliant insight into the mechanics of memory. The secret to retention, he discovered, is reviewing information at precisely the right moment, a revelation that completely transforms how we approach vocabulary acquisition. Most language learners make a critical error in their journey. They either review words too frequently, wasting precious study time on words they already know well, or they wait too long, forcing themselves to relearn forgotten vocabulary from scratch. Feynman recognized that there exists a perfect moment to review each word, right before your brain is about to forget it. This sweet spot maximizes efficiency and signals to your brain that this information deserves permanent storage. This hidden truth behind effective memorization isn't just theoretical, it's deeply practical. While Feynman manually tracked his optimal review times, we now have sophisticated digital applications that employ spaced repetition algorithms to handle this work for us. These systems adapt to your personal learning curve, presenting words exactly when you need to see them. The efficiency gains from this approach are remarkable. Studies show you can remember 5 times as many words with the same amount of study time. This revelation highlights why some people seem to absorb vocabulary effortlessly, while others struggle despite equal effort. It's not about working harder, it's about aligning your practice with how your brain naturally processes and stores information. But here's the watershed moment that separates true language masters from eternal beginners. No matter how well you implement spaced repetition, passive recognition of words is not enough for true fluency. Feynman emphasized this truth repeatedly: knowledge isn't real until you use it. This insight illuminates why many language learners remain stuck in perpetual mediocrity despite years of dedicated study. They never force themselves to actively recall and use what they've learned. Think about the fundamental difference between recognizing a word when you see it, passive knowledge, versus having to produce that word from memory in conversation, active recall. These are completely different cognitive processes with drastically different impacts on your brain's neural architecture. Every time you force your brain to actively recall a word instead of merely recognizing it, you strengthen the neural pathways associated with that word, making it more accessible when you need it in real conversation. The practical implementation of this principle creates a profound transformation in your language abilities. Say words aloud even when studying alone. Quiz yourself instead of just reviewing. Most importantly, deliberately incorporate new vocabulary into your conversations, even when it feels uncomfortable. This discomfort is actually the catalyst for growth, a sign that you're pushing beyond passive recognition into the realm of active mastery. The journey from language learner to language user requires this fundamental mindset shift. Many remain trapped in an endless cycle of study without ever making the leap to actual usage. Feynman's approach breaks this cycle by making active recall a central pillar of the learning process from day one. This leads us to a crucial understanding about language fluency that few teachers ever discuss: the invisible threshold that separates those who perpetually study a language from those who actually acquire it. If you've ever experienced that frustrating moment when you recognize a word but can't produce it in conversation, type "active recall is my missing piece" in the comments below. This invisible threshold represents the moment when a language stops being something you study and becomes something you use. And that's really what Feynman's approach is all about: crossing that threshold faster than you ever thought possible by creating emotional connections to words, practicing with real sentences, implementing spaced repetition, and forcing active recall. You're not just learning a language, you're rewiring your brain to think in it. I've shared these techniques with thousands of students worldwide, and the results consistently amaze me. People who struggled for years suddenly experience breakthroughs within weeks. The transformation isn't just in their language skills, it's in their confidence, their cultural connections, and their entire worldview. If you found value in this approach and want to continue this language learning journey together, I'd love to have you join our community. Each week, I break down these complex language acquisition principles into practical, actionable strategies you can implement immediately. Just hit that subscribe button below to make sure you don't miss anything. I'm curious, did something in today's video click for you personally? Let me know by commenting "Feynman unlocked my language potential" below. Your experiences and insights add tremendous value to our collective learning, and I read every comment. And if these ideas resonated with you, a like on this video helps others discover these techniques too. It's always wonderful to see how far these methods can reach. Right over there, you'll find a video about how to practice speaking a new language when you don't have conversation partners. It pairs perfectly with what we've discussed today and will help you implement these methods even more effectively. Click on it when you're ready to take the next step in your language journey. Until then, happy learning.